Can Sigma men really outsmart manipulative women? Join me as I dive into this challenge head-on. Welcome back to Unshakable Sigma. Today, we tackle a question few dare to ask. When cunning tactics meet unwavering independence, who comes out on top? Sigma men, those lone wolf personalities who live on their own terms, face a unique battlefield when confronted by manipulation. In a world where emotional games are common currency, do Sigma men have the armor to withstand and outmaneuver these subtle attacks? Sigma men thrive on autonomy, logic, and inner strength. They reject groupthink, prize self-awareness, and prize emotional discipline. But manipulative women, whether wielding guilt, charm, or passive aggression, test even the toughest individual. Over the next 10 chapters, we'll explore how Sigma men handle manipulation from women, from their invisible shield to their calm, strategic responses. You'll learn research-backed techniques, real-world anecdotes, and actionable insights that reveal the Sigma's secret playbook. By the end, you'll see why a Sigma's blend of emotional immunity and intellectual advantage often proves more formidable than any social ruse. Ready? Let's find out whether Sigma men can truly outwit manipulative women and what you can learn from their silent mastery. 1. The Sigma's shield. When manipulation looms, Sigma men deploy their first line of defense, the Sigma's shield. This isn't a physical barrier, but an invisible fortress of self-respect and emotional armor. Research in emotional intelligence shows that individuals with high self-regard resist external attempts to sway their feelings or judgments. Sigma men cultivate this inner fortitude through reflection and unwavering belief in their own values. Imagine a scenario where a partner uses guilt. "After all I've done for you, you owe me," to elicit compliance. A typical reaction might be self-doubt or resentment. A Sigma, however, stands firm. He recognizes guilt tripping as a manipulation tactic, mentally labeling it without reacting. This labeling process, identified in studies of cognitive diffusion, allows him to separate the content of the message from his self-worth. He neither absorbs the blame nor retaliates in kind. Instead, he acknowledges the feeling, decides if it's warranted, and moves on. Behind this shield lies rigorous self-awareness. Sigma men continually refine their core beliefs and boundaries. They journal, meditate, or engage in silent walks to assess what truly matters. This practice transforms fleeting emotions into data points, not directives. By seeing a manipulator's words as mere data, the Sigma's shield deflects attempts to breach his autonomy. And when his boundary is secure, manipulation withers like a weed deprived of sunlight. 2. Reading hidden agendas. Sigma men excel at reading hidden agendas, another critical skill in navigating manipulation. In high-stakes environments, manipulative individuals often veil their motives behind flattery, feigned vulnerability, or strategic omission. Cognitive psychologists refer to this as theory of mind, the ability to infer intent from subtle cues. Sigma men hone their theory of mind through keen observation and pattern recognition. Picture a colleague whose casual compliments turn into requests for favors. A Sigma notices the shift. The smile lingers a touch too long. The compliment arrives precisely when help is needed. Rather than accept it at face value, he mentally tracks cause and effect. He asks himself, when has praise accompanied a self-serving request before? Over time, he maps these interactions, building a mental database of behaviors and outcomes. This skill doesn't rely on cynicism, but on curiosity. Sigma men ask gentle, open-ended questions. How do you see us collaborating long-term? To unearth real intentions. By framing inquiries in neutral language, they invite clarity without triggering defensiveness. When an agenda emerges, they can address it directly. "I appreciate your vision, but let's ensure this aligns with my goals too." Reading hidden agendas also involves emotional calibration. Noticing micro-expressions, changes in tone, and body language leaks. Training in micro-expression recognition, popularized by research at the Paul Ekman Group, can sharpen this ability. The net result: such men seldom fall prey to surprise demands or veiled ultimatums. Instead, they preemptively adjust, neutralizing manipulation before it gains traction. 3. Emotional immunity. Emotional immunity is the Sigma's secret superpower. While many react to criticism or flattery with internal turbulence, Sigmas develop a form of psychological vaccination against emotional contagion. Studies in emotional regulation show that individuals who view feelings as informative signals rather than imperatives maintain greater resilience under stress. In practice, when a manipulative partner aims to provoke jealousy, perhaps by recounting flirtations with others, a Sigma feels the initial twinge but doesn't contract the infection. He observes the emotion rise, labels it, "That's jealousy, not truth," and lets it pass through. This distancing technique, known as cognitive reappraisal, transforms potential volatility into calm analysis. Moreover, Sigmas cultivate gratitude and mindfulness to bolster immunity. Daily practices like listing 3 non-negotiable values or breathing through a 4-1-1 road pattern build tolerance for emotional upheaval. When faced with a partner's silent treatment, the Sigma's immune system remains robust. He recognizes the tactic as an attempt at control and meets it with neutral attention, or chooses silence of his own, depriving the tactic of effect. Over time, manipulative tactics lose potency. Without the emotional reaction they crave, toxic patterns collapse. A Sigma's immunity protects not only his heart, but also his clarity of mind, ensuring every relationship is grounded in mutual respect, not unconscious manipulation. 4. Non-reactive response. One of the most disarming strategies against manipulation is the non-reactive response. Manipulators feed on reaction, anger, guilt, or defensiveness, and use it as fuel to steer the interaction. Sigmas, however, adopt an almost Zen-like posture. They listen, acknowledge, and respond only when necessary. Non-reactivity draws on concepts from nonviolent communication and Stoic philosophy. Instead of the mirror reacting, "You're trying to control me." A Sigma might say, "I hear you're upset. Let's talk about what you need." This shifts the dynamic from emotional provocation to problem solving. The manipulator, starved of the anticipated outburst, often backtracks or clarifies intentions. Consider a scenario where a partner accuses the Sigma of neglect. "You never have time for me anymore." A reactive approach might be defensive retaliation. "That's not true." A non-reactive Sigma responds calmly. "I understand you feel that way. What would feel supportive to you right now?" By reframing the conflict as a joint inquiry, he sidesteps blame games and reorients the conversation towards solutions. This tactic requires practice, particularly in controlling the voice's tone and pace. Calm breaths before speaking, a steady gaze, and deliberate pauses reinforce the message that Sigma men will not be drawn into emotional maelstroms. Over time, non-reactivity becomes second nature, leaving manipulators without the combustible reactions they need to influence outcomes. 5. Intellectual advantage. Sigma men leverage intellectual advantage as a bulwark against manipulation. While emotional appeals tug at the heart, logical reasoning speaks to the mind, where Sigma power truly resides. Research in persuasion shows that arguments grounded in clear facts and consistent principles carry greater weight than emotional rhetoric. When faced with hyperbolic statements, "If you loved me, you'd," a Sigma calmly calls upon shared values and evidence. He might ask, "Can we review what love means to both of us and how that aligns with our actions?" By inviting a structured dialogue, he reframes emotional pressure into a rational exchange. This advantage grows from lifelong learning. Sigma men often voraciously read psychology, negotiation tactics, and critical thinking frameworks. They're comfortable challenging assumptions. When someone claims everyone agrees, the Sigma asks, "Where's the data?" Such questions not only reveal shaky premises, but also signal intellectual confidence. In one real-life anecdote, a Sigma executive faced a manipulative colleague spreading rumors to derail a promotion. Rather than respond with office politics, he presented performance metrics and depositions of past clients. The objective evidence neutralized the subjective attacks. The manipulator's strategy unraveled under the weight of logic, illustrating the Sigma's ability to outwit emotional schemes with intellectual precision. 6. Strategic silence. Silence can be the deadliest weapon in a manipulator's arsenal. Sigma men understand this intuitively and deploy strategic silence to great effect. In moments when words would only feed drama, they simply breathe, listen, and wait for the right moment to speak. This tactic echoes lessons from martial arts masters. The opponent's energy is best redirected by minimalist action, not forceful confrontation. When a manipulative partner presses for explanations, "Why won't you talk?" the Sigma's silence speaks volumes. It conveys confidence, self-control, and a refusal to be rushed. Silence also encourages the other party to fill the void, often revealing deeper motives or anxieties. In therapy, this is called the empty chair technique. By withholding response, the therapist invites the patient's unguarded truths to surface. Sigma men, by remaining silent, prompt manipulators to expose themselves, whether through frustration, guilt, or apology. Of course, timing matters. Strategic silence requires patience and a keen sense of timing. Too long, and it may breed misunderstanding. Too brief, and it loses impact. But when wielded skillfully, it transforms the Sigma from reactive pawn into master tactician, one who lets the manipulator's own voice reveal the game played. 7. Logic over drama. Drama is the fuel of manipulation, but Sigma men choose logic over spectacle. Where others might get swept up in performative outbursts, Sigmas calmly parse the facts and steer the conversation toward constructive resolution. This chapter explores how prioritizing rational analysis disarms the most dramatic tactics. In chaotic confrontations, yelling, accusations, emotional ultimatums, the Sigma cuts through the noise. He reframes the issue with questions: "What outcome are we trying to achieve?" Or, "Let's list the steps to move forward." This method echoes principles of conflict resolution studied in organizational psychology, which show that structured dialogues reduce emotional volatility and expedite problem solving. By refusing to feed drama, Sigmas also protect their own mental clarity. They avoid spirals of emotional exhaustion, maintaining high energy for strategic initiatives instead of relational fire drills. Over time, manipulators learn that dramatic tactics simply bounce off the Sigma's logical shield, forcing them to either adapt or abandon their games. One CEO described confronting a manipulative board member who staged sensational leaks to the press. Rather than engage in counter-leaks, he called a formal meeting, presented transparent data, and invited open Q&A. The board member's theatrics dissolved under the weight of logic and accountability, proving that drama rarely survives in the face of reasoned discourse. 8. The lone wolf's detachment. Sigma men are often dubbed lone wolves for their preference to operate independently. This detachment isn't cold aloofness, but a strategic posture that guards against manipulation. By maintaining healthy emotional distance, Sigmas ensure they never merge identities with a manipulator's narrative. Detachment begins with clear boundaries, knowing what one will and will not tolerate. Psychological research highlights that individuals who differentiate their own thoughts and feelings from others retain stronger self-concepts and resist undue influence. Sigmas practice this through periodic solitude, reflective retreats where they assess relationships against personal values. In relationships where manipulative undercurrents surface, the Sigma's detachment allows him to step back and evaluate objectively. Is this behavior a one-off or a pattern? Does it align with long-term goals and mutual respect? By viewing the dynamic from a slight remove, he avoids impulsive reactions and sees the big picture. This detachment also empowers him to walk away if necessary. Unlike those who cling out of fear or obligation, a Sigma knows his worth is not tied to any single relationship. This freedom makes him immune to threats of abandonment or guilt trips, ultimately outwitting manipulation through unwavering self-reliance. 9. Calm confrontation. When avoidance fails, Sigma men engage in calm confrontation, a direct but composed stance that catches manipulators off guard. Unlike explosive arguments, calm confrontation is delivered with measured tone, clear language, and firm boundaries. It's the difference between an emotional outburst and a surgical strike. Effective calm confrontation follows 3 steps. Identify the behavior. When you do X, express its impact, "I feel undermined," and request change, "I need us to." This structure, adapted from nonviolent communication frameworks, shifts the exchange from blame game to joint problem solving. Imagine a partner who withholds affection as leverage. A reactive response might be pleading or anger. A calm confrontation. When affection is withdrawn, I feel disconnected. I'd like us to discuss how we can maintain closeness even during disagreements. This approach validates both parties' needs while dismantling manipulation by naming it. Manipulators often rely on confusion and emotional overwhelm. Calm confrontation uses clarity and empathy to negate those weapons. It signals respect for both self and other, a Sigma hallmark, and forces the manipulator to either engage in genuine dialogue or expose their tactics in full view. 10. Maintaining control. In the final analysis, true mastery lies in maintaining control over one's emotions, thoughts, and choices. Sigma men know that manipulation thrives on chaos and indecision. By steadfastly steering their own course, they leave no opening for others to hijack their agenda. Control begins with self-monitoring, noticing when stress hormones spike, and using techniques like box breathing or brief physical exertions to reset. It continues with proactive planning, anticipating potential manipulation triggers and rehearsing responses. Elite performers across fields, from special forces to opera conductors, use similar mental drills to stay centered under pressure. A powerful real-world example involves a Sigma entrepreneur whose partner tried to leverage his generosity for personal gain. Instead of reacting, he stuck to a predefined decision matrix, set limits, document contributions, and review jointly every quarter. By codifying his boundaries, he transformed an emotional battleground into a transparent process, retaining full control. Maintaining control also means owning one's narrative, refusing to internalize gossip or half-truths, and consistently projecting clarity of purpose. Manipulative individuals may attempt to rewrite history or sow doubt, but a Sigma's unwavering confidence in his own story keeps such attempts from gaining traction. Conclusion. From the invisible shield of self-worth to the artful balance of calm confrontation, Sigma men wield a suite of strategies that outsmart manipulative tactics. They read agendas, build emotional immunity, and never surrender control of their own narrative. Their blend of intellectual rigor and strategic detachment turns potential traps into opportunities for clarity and growth. If you've ever wondered whether a true Sigma can stand firm against manipulation, the answer is clear. With the right mindset and tools, they not only withstand these challenges, they thrive. Now I want to hear from you. Have you faced manipulation in your own life, and which Sigma strategy resonated most? Drop your experiences in the comments, smash that like button if you found these insights valuable, and subscribe for more deep dives into the Sigma mindset. Thanks for watching Unshakable Sigma. Stay strong, stay strategic, and as always, stay Sigma.